Let's talk about this upcoming tour here in Brazil. This will be your first time performing here. 3 shows in big venues, including a stadium. How excited are you about that?
I am so excited, man. I have always wanted to go to Brazil. I know we have a lot of Sublime fans out there, but just in general, it's such an awesome destination. So I feel really lucky that I get to go there because of music. You know, I can't believe it. I'm gonna be out there playing another part of the world. It's fucking rad, man. So we're really excited to go out there. Hopefully, just have some fun, get into some trouble.
And do you already know anything about Brazil or culture or music or anything that you have already been exposed to?
Nope, nothing at all, man. I mean, well, maybe a little bit, like just stuff you see on TV and stuff, but you always take that with a grain of salt because you never really know. But I've definitely seen a lot of pictures and videos, you know, a lot of beautiful architecture and the beaches. I think it's very well known for, and just in general being like a tourist kind of travel destination. Oh, and I play a lot of video games, and there's a big culture of Brazilian video gamers. That's a thing. That was my
Exactly. Yeah, well, we're going to talk a lot about Sublime, but first, I'd love to hear your thoughts about the bands you'll be sharing the stage with. Starting with The Offspring, which is the headliner of these concerts. Are you a fan of theirs?
I am, dude. I've always liked the Offspring, man. And I was from back in the day, no matter what anybody said. I'll never forget. Um, you can cut this out if this next part is bad. But
No problem.
I was like 15, and one of my first jobs was being like an intern junior counselor for the YMCA. So I was like a camp counselor, and we're like doing training, and I see like the other cool kids and stuff, and we're like, oh, we're gonna go smoke after this. I'm like, yeah, cool. I found the other kids to smoke weed. We're all smoking weed, and they're like, so you like music? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, what music do you like? Like, I'm like, oh, well, like everything. They're like, what's the last concert you've been to? And the last concert I had been to at the time was an Offspring show with my mother. She took me, and so what came out of my mouth, I was like, my mom took me to see the Offspring, and I remember he just fucking like hit the joint, and he was like, dude, the Offspring is fucking gay. And he didn't even say it to be like me, like he was saying it like I was like a leper, like or I was like I didn't know, like he's like, dude, didn't you know? Like the Offspring sucks. And I was like, oh no. He said those exact words. Offspring's fucking. I was like, and it just like hit me, and I was like, I just like, haha, yeah. Like, no one told me. I just thought they wrote really catchy, awesome songs. Nobody thinks that anymore. We gotta imagine this was like, fuck, like 2007, 2008 or something. You know, and they were kids being kids. You know what I mean? Um, it didn't stop me from enjoying their music. I gladly sing along to a lot of their stuff, and it's funny. I think in that era, a lot of the music that was considered like not as cool or hardcore. 20 years later, I think people are like, never mind. We didn't realize how good we had it. Music sucks. Way worse now. Go back to that. Go back. All these people like at the what was that one they did in Vegas, like the Day to Remember Fest or something, or people being really stoked on Paramore. I'm like, you guys all said you hated that when I was a kid. Like now you're stoked on it. Like, okay, it was always cool. What the hell? Yeah, no reason to be mean about anyone, you know, any one band, unless you're just teasing and making jokes, which is, everybody can take a joke. But I think I'm just really excited to share the stage with a bunch of legends. And let me tell you, dude, the guys from Offspring, the dudes that I've met so far from that band, nicest, coolest motherfuckers. They deserve all their success, and I'm glad they're still up there doing it.
That's amazing. I'm not going to cut this story from this interview. Definitely not.
That shit really happened to me too. It was so shocking. I was like, oh damn. And then after that, I started listening to Tool, so they thought I was cooler for that.
And well, you're also going to share the stage with two legendary bands, The Damned and Rise Against, as well as two younger bands, The Warning and Emil and the Sniffers. Do you enjoy their music, and have you had the chance to share the stage with them before?
Out of all those bands, I'm aware of all of them, and I feel very honored to share the stage with a bunch of people who are really doing it like that. But the only one who I've listened to a little bit is Emil and the Sniffers, and not even a lot. Like, it's come up in my Spotify before, and I've been like, yeah, this is good. Like, so it's be funny. I didn't know we were playing with all them till right now.
Oh, really?
I'm sure someone probably told me, maybe it slipped my mind, but I thought it was just us and the Offspring. I'm like stoked now. This is gonna be a real show, man. This is gonna be fun as hell. Like, yeah, it's the cool thing about music, man. There's always some surprises around the corner. So
Yeah, and in São Paulo and Curitiba, you're going to play like this mini festival, not so mini festival with six bands. And in Belo Horizonte, it's Offspring and Sublime, I guess. I don't remember exactly the city, but there's a city when you're going to play only with Offspring.
no way. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I'm excited. They just tell me where I go and play the songs.
And now let's talk a bit about the Sublime concert itself. What can fans expect from the concert, both in terms of the set list and the overall vibe of the show?
Oh yeah, dude. We are excited this year, man. The first year was figuring it out, getting back to it, and just, getting the whole vibe of what a Sublime live show is like in modern day times now. So we're gonna be trying to add some more songs to the set. I'm actually even working on writing some brand new material, and if we dig it enough, we might actually even put it out there. So I think we might sneak in some brand new songs, even though I know fans want to hear the good old shit. And to that effect, we're definitely playing a lot of, like, the fan favorites, I would say. I think because none of them are my songs, I have the unique advantage of how a lot of musicians they hate playing the hits because they just had to play them for years and years and years. Well, I ain't never had to play Santeria or What I Got. So to me, I still love playing. I'll play, and like I'm stoked to play those songs because those songs rock. I'll play the big hits, but we'll also play some cool deep cuts in there for fans as well. And then the biggest changes, we're working on some fun changes to the backdrop and like just the whole live setup and the stage design and stuff like that. I think there's too many bands out there. Like, I don't know, for a long time, like there's this vibe of like, oh, Sublime has to have like weird animations and stuff, like a fucking stonery blacklight poster in a college dorm room. Like, it's like, and there's nothing wrong with all that stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I think Sublime is so much more than just like, the more than that, I guess. When I think about it, and when I talk to young people in Southern California that are still excited by that music, which there are a lot of, it's more about like really immersing yourself in an era where it felt like music was still authentic. I think that's what they imagined the 90s was like. So I want a live set that really immerses you and brings you back to that, not only with what we're playing, what we're doing, but with our backdrop. So, old vintage surf and skate videos and found footage of parties and stuff like that. Sorry, it's my manager calling me. Just anything that can really capture that vibe of that unique moment, flash and pan in the time that was happening between 89 and 96. So we're stoked.
That's incredible. And since you mentioned that Sublime is not only one thing, what do you think has made Sublime's music continue to be so strong, even for younger generations like you and me?
I ask myself that every day, man. That's the $1,000,000 question. If I could just figure that out. But we do know some things for certain. For certain, my dad was just a world-class singer, songwriter, and guitar player. I mean, just unfairly good. You know what I mean? Like, you just hear it and you're like, wow, how the hell does anyone get that good? And he just had that ability. Well, if you go inside now. Sorry, my cats are escaping.
No problem.
But yeah, just so unbelievably good. Um, and the music that he wrote was very authentic. I think people really you can see that upon one first listen, that it didn't seem like he was trying to write towards anyone. It seemed like he was just having fun. But it also is so well done that you're like, well, he must have put some thought into it. So that means that he's really had that ability of a writer. And it came off as effortless. It came off as effortless. So have that as a check. Connect with your audience. You have fun doing it. You seem authentic while you're doing it, and you have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Oh, and you have to be good.
Of course, absolutely. And what has it been like playing with Bud and Eric? I mean, they're both very experienced musicians, but you guys come from different generations, so I believe it has been a different experience for everyone. How have the dynamics been for you all?
Oh, it's been so awesome. Yeah, and we're much more comfortable with each other now. We've gotten to know each other over this last year. It's been really great. And for me, just like they are so good, dude. Like they're so good. They are really like I'd say the most under. I mean, I'm biased, I guess, 'cause I play with them, but I think they're the most underrated bassist and drummer in all of rock music. They are, they're that good. Like Bud is incredibly articulate, but also just wild, and he hits the drums so hard. But the stuff he does, it kind of like you'll like break your head if you like. You're like, how the hell is he doing that? Same thing with Eric. He plays these insanely complicated lines, but they're so like catchy. And I think when a lot of people try to like shred on the bass or play something very busy, it loses a lot of what makes a bass a rhythm instrument. It doesn't feel like rhythm anymore, but somehow he's able to do it all. Like you're still grooving, but the line is just this insanely complicated thing that would take me hours to sit down and figure out. Like, so to that regard, like I just feel really proud to get to even play with those musicians, and I see why that element had to be there for the music to be good. So yeah, beyond that, man, I think that uh it it only gets better. We only get more and more comfortable with each other for sure.
Absolutely. And I think I can say, on behalf of all the fans, it's incredible to see you stepping into the frontman role for Sublime. What does it mean to you personally now that you have embraced your father's legacy in this way?
Oh man, it means everything. It's a very complicated and emotionally complex issue for me, but to say it shortly, it definitely feels like I found my purpose now. You know, just continuing on his legacy while also trying to build my own and making people happy. What could be better? Um, I always thought of Sublime as just this, the local Long Beach band, but I never really realized how big it got. But in my head, it could be way bigger even. It's still kind of a cult following band in my head. So I think that the more we play in different markets, in different countries, and keep doing our best to keep the brand relevant, I think there's still fans out there to be made.
Yes, and I have to ask you about this because on the other hand, I was listening to some of your not so old interviews, but before the reunion, and you said that you didn't think you joining Sublime would be as sick as people think it would be. Of course, you change your mind, and it's a complex situation. You already said that, but I'd like to know what made you change your mind about joining Sublime and seeing that it is as sick as people think it would
Yeah,
be.
it was. Yeah. I think that was me talking myself out of it. For the longest time, I just thought that was not something I should do. And, I just thought that, any band reforming after a while is not going to be like how it was. And I think some fans still do feel like that. I think that I'm never going to sing the songs better than my father. or even as good. I strive for perfection, but if I can even just get 75% closeness to it while still putting on a good, entertaining show, then I think that's worth the ticket price, and it's keeping the dream alive for people. But that's mainly what I meant by that is I don't ever want people to think that I'm a significant or sufficient substitute for my dad's work. But for the people who maybe never got to see a Sublime show back in the day, at least they can go see one now in some form, even if it's not exactly the same. And I still think I could be doing so much better. I rehearse all the time. I try to not only emulate my father's style of singing, but try to give it an authentic, vibe myself and just do as good as I could. So it's always going to be improving, but it definitely will be a work in progress always. And tell you the truth, I feel like I'm happy that it turned out this way. I'm happy that people are here and appreciative of it, the ones who are, and I just want them to know that I take this job very, very seriously, and I try to treat it with a lot of respect and reverence because this is my family, and this is the memories of all of the people here in Long Beach. So there's definitely a lot of pressure and expectations, but I think that gets outweighed by how much fun it is and how much love I have in my heart for doing it now.
Absolutely, man. And I like the fact that it's not completely a nostalgic act, as you have already released one song and have more music planned for the future, as you mentioned before. Mm-hmm. And speaking about these future music plans, can you share anything about these new songs? Have you started writing or recording them yet?
We're in the writing process right now. Yep. Man, I want to leak them already. I'm so excited about some of the people behind the scenes that I've been showing this stuff to say, that it reminds them of 40 ounce. So I think we're channeling a lot of that. And right now it's just been me writing it with my close friends and stuff like that. But the people in Sunburnt Records crew, shout out Sunburnt Records, go check out my record label. But I think once we get Bud and Eric in the room and sort of co-write all this stuff, which you need Bud and Eric for Sublime. You just do. You can't have it without those two. That's when they'll decide if these are really going to be Sublime songs or not. So if we make some stuff that all three of us like, we'll put it out for sure. The biggest thing though is I would love to use this music as a chance to collaborate with other musicians, both from that era and from new eras that were inspired by Sublime. We have a lot of friends and fans out there of the music that went on to do awesome stuff here in Southern California. So I think the goal would be, if we did put out new music, I would never try to be like, this is new Sublime music. I mean, obviously it's going to be under the name Sublime, but no matter what happens, I want it to be known now that Sublime Self-Titled is the last Sublime record. If we put out a new record, I want it to be thought of as the epilogue, a tribute and a celebration to my father's music. Something that I put out that was inspired by it and that is mean to celebrate it with, not only our own songwriting, but with the collaboration of a bunch of other musicians that have been inspired. And we hope that we could just sort of create a cool, fun vibe for people. And when I'm able to do that, it has been some of the most fun and most meaningful work that I've done as a songwriter in my whole life so far. So very proud about that.
Absolutely, man. And many fans here in Brazil, they might not know much about your story before joining Sublime. So I think this is a good opportunity to share more of your journey. First of all, when did you first get interested in music, either as a listener or as a musician?
Oh man, I would say ever since I was a kid, my mom would play music and stuff. But the first group that I got into when I was little, I think I was 12, maybe a little bit younger, was the Gorillaz. But I never wanted to do music until I saw the movie Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny. So it's all because of Jack Black and Kyle Gass that I wanted to do music. Seeing that movie, even though it was funny, to me it was just cool. That's what made me want to do it, man. anything that seemed like a big quest or adventure or journey. I think even though it was in a funny way, it was just so based in like rock mystique and lore, even though it was sort of parodying all that. So I think that for me, a lot of what the juice is that interesting weirdness and the lore of the rock and roll world. There's just so much to it, and when you join into it, you feel like you're part of this infinite chain of being, you know. So I'm just happy to have my little place in it, man. That's all I ever wanted.
That's amazing, man. And you played in other bands. You had the Law band. You played in a progressive metal band. I was surprised when I was doing my
Uh-oh.
research and I discovered that people in Brazil
Uh-oh.
will know about that.
Yeah, people do know about that. No, those, and they made some good music. I couldn't even keep up, man. Talk about good musicians. Those guys are like insane shredders. Yeah, go check out Death the Author, man. Um,
Yeah.
I couldn't keep up with that though, but I did do that for a little bit. We did a few shows and we had a lot of fun. And actually, it helped me grow as a musician a lot because we did so much just recording work in my buddy's bedroom and just yeah, man, the stuff that was required for like very complicated time signature stuff and very challenging and demanding vocally and a lot of layering in that world and in that genre. So we just sit there doing take after take after take for hours and hours and hours. And in a lot of ways, it helped me get better at doing vocals because now what I do is always in 4/4. So,
Yeah,
so
but you have to nail the other time signatures to nail 4/4.
yeah, it's true. And as far as law goes, yeah, you know I that was like boot camp for me as a musician. It challenged me to figure out why if I even wanted to keep doing it, you know. And so shout out to my old friends, my old buddy Nick Aguilar still plays in a bunch of bands like Frankie and the Witch Fingers. My old buddy Logan, he does projects from here and there. I don't know what he's working on right now musically. And then Dakota, who used to be in the band, a kid I grew up with in San Diego, and I lived in Long Beach here with when we were teenagers. He is in a band called Shuss, Somehow Unseen. So please go check them out. And they're on our local record label, Sunburnt Records, where we're just a local independent record label who's trying to put on Southern California musicians that we believe are the next step in the sound of SoCal alternative music. So it's a big, wide, multi-genre. It's a large undertaking, but we're just starting off right now, and right now it's putting on local shows. So if that sounds interesting to anybody out there, and you find yourself in the Southern California area, come on out and see a Sunburnt show. We're putting on one called No Guest List on January 31st, Soma, San Diego, coming up soon.
Oh, that's incredible, man. And recently, not so recently, but recently you formed Jacob's Castle and you even released an album. The band didn't stop even after you joined Sublime. For Brazilian Sublime fans who might not know Jacob's Castle, how would you describe the band?
Mm. Jacob's Castle is definitely my passion project, man. That's my solo project. It's the vehicle. It's the expeditionary force. Like I'm a big nerd. A lot of nerdy stuff. It's definitely like maybe on the more nerdy side of music, but it's also more poppy. It's kind of experimenting with, the parts of music that are just like, I guess more easy listening, but also weird parts of pop though that are like just weird noises and stuff like that. So it's electronic and it's alternative and it's still full band. It's a mixture of all that. And I think it does have a little bit of that like Long Beach Sublime DNA, but it's a mixture of all the bands that really inspired me coming up. So I'm hoping that it'll have its place. I think right now I just need to be focusing on putting in 110% into doing my duty as the inheritor of this big Sublime legacy. But my ultimate goal is to continue doing Jacob's Castle stuff full time. And I really hope it finds its audience, man. I really do. I know it's out there, and it's some music that I'm very proud of, and that means a lot to me. So that's sort of like my passion project. If it never takes off, it never does. But I'll know that I made music that was at least a good tribute and homage to everything that inspired me as a musician.
That's incredible. And I have to ask you my last question, otherwise your PR will get mad with me. But since you mentioned that in the future you want Jacob's Castle to be a full-time band, I would like to ask you, what is your biggest hope for the future of Sublime, both musically and as a group?
This is perfect. Yeah. So the where I see Sublime is if for the next 2 years we can continue playing a bunch of shows, really expand the brand, bring in new fans, put out one really good record that is, you know, definitely nowhere near what happened back in the day with the OG Sublime records, but one that could just sort of put a prologue on the whole story of Sublime. Kind of bring it to one big, you know, kind of tie everything together in a way that just says, this happened. We're so glad it happened. There's tragedy that is involved in this story, but at the end of the day, it created a humongous big family that's even bigger than my own family and bigger than anything I think my dad or my uncles could have imagined. So if we're able to do that, put out something decent that people like and put on a bunch of shows, then I think the Sublime brand will have grown big and beyond what it always was. And through my platform doing that, I'm hoping that I can get to a place where, you know, I make connections with the musicians that were inspired by my father's music, work with them and in the Sublime record, and then eventually use that to create new music with Sunburnt Records and Jacob's Castle, and really give a chance to the dreams of the young musicians here in Southern California that feel like they're just totally stuck and might never even have any way to reach any ears. So if we can put on some cool shows and sort of use all this as just hype to show people there's still an awesome movement of music happening here in Southern California, I think that's the dream for me, man. I think that there's a void right now. Like there's no one, you know, like this is the live music scene here in SoCal. Like I think it's time, man. And that's truly what I feel passionate about. And it's what I want to try to keep generating and boosting up to people. And I just want to let people know it's happening. It is happening. So I think in the next few years, that would be like where I'd want my full-time focus to be, is just Sunburnt Records, Jacob's Castle, and then all of the bands we work with in that capacity. And then we would have Sublime just, you know, play a few shows a year at the really big festivals to keep the dream and vibe alive. So I think it's an exciting time. Or if you're a Sublime fan, there's going to be a lot of stuff happening within these next 3 years, man. We're just going to be pushing really, really hard and trying to get as much stuff out there as we can. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been part of the journey. Thank you to anybody who digs it. And just know that, you know, this is my life, man. This is my family. It goes beyond just, and it's my job, you know, it goes beyond just playing music or getting to, you know, boost my name up there or my own ego or whatever. I do this because I genuinely want to see people having a good time, and I want to see other musicians get the recognition they deserve.